Hello, Jeffrey.
Hello, Dor. How are you? How's London?
I had a really busy week, but I'm currently watching Israeli news because we're in the midst of the, fingers crossed, the second hostage
And there
release.
was there was an ultimatum from Israel saying that if the hostages' second batch aren't released by midnight, they're going to continue the ground invasion. And right now, it's what time is it in Israel? It's like 11 p.m. So we're watching in real time. But in the meanwhile, I have a memory that popped into my head. Do you remember when we were in advanced training of the army and you almost killed me with a live bullet?
I mean, this is an exaggerated story, okay?
I remember it was intense.
You don't remember because, okay, I'll paint the picture. Or do you want to paint the picture? Because I'm afraid that you're going to paint
I'll tell you my
fake
version,
news.
then you tell
Okay,
me
you
your
go,
version.
You go with your fake news.
My name's Jeff. I'm calling in from California.
My name's Dora, and I'm joining you from London.
Out of 16 million, we are two.
Two freaked out Jews.
Okay, we were learning a combat maneuver of capturing a hill in like the shetach, which means like the, how do you explain that?
The field.
The field. And we were like climbing up a hill, and we were in teams of like 3 soldiers. And when the first soldier jumps up, there's one shot from the soldiers behind, while the soldier jumps up in the front, shoots and runs up to a covering rock or something. So I was number 1. And I jumped up and I was shooting as I was going. And then I hear this huge, like, hullabaloo whistles. I don't know how they stopped us. Chadal, which means, like, stop firing. And I didn't know what was going on. I was just, like, shooting and running. And our commanding officer, like, took the whole battalion up to the top of the hill and said that, like, screamed at us because there was live fire behind me. Rather, it was supposed to be one shot as I stand up. And then people behind me stop shooting, so they're not shooting in my direction. And apparently, Dor was shooting in my direction. That's what I remember.
Okay, let's tell the real story now, shall we? No battalion was called up. There was no like major stop. I'll clarify. Basically, I mean, what you said at the beginning was correct. That we're doing a maneuver, and the way you maneuver is you're basically four. It's actually 4 people in a line, and you're all in your sort of a lane running up a hill, and you're firing. And in order to move forward, you go in numbers. So let's say, as you said, Jeff, you're number 1. So you say number 1's running, and you run, let's say, 5 meters forward, and
Achad mit the leg.
exactly, and then you lie down. In the meantime, we stop firing because obviously we don't want to shoot you. And then you're 5 meters ahead of us. You give us covering fire for number 2 to run up 5
Right.
meters to join you, 3 and 4. So that's correct. So now, obviously, in a real war, people do still shoot because you can't just stop shooting. But because it's a training exercise, as soon as number 1 goes, number 2, 3, and 4 stop shooting so not to hit them. However, you're meant to be shooting in your own lane, so you should never, unless someone runs diagonal, nothing should happen. So what happened from this exaggerated story that you tell, Jeff? You started running, and I didn't hear it, so I kept on shooting in my lane, and then you. And
Wait, you're saying I didn't say Achad mit the leg?
No, I didn't say
scream?
you didn't say it. Maybe I didn't hear it. Bullets,
Okay.
bullets allowed.
I don't remember.
And we have
so
like
I don't remember if I said it or not. Good chance I didn't say it.
it's a good chat. Yeah, exactly. I mean, the level of Hebrew was poor. So, so you ran. I didn't hear or whatever, and I kept shooting in my lane. There was no danger to Jeff, no danger whatsoever. And then obviously they said stop, and I'm like, oh, I didn't, whatever. Not everyone was called up. It wasn't an exciting moment. It was for you, Jeff, because your life flashed before your eyes, although you didn't even realize.
No,
So it's fine.
also I was the center of attention. Everyone was like, "Wow, Jeff, what happened?"
You were at no point were you in danger.
Hey, Dor, should we explain how we found ourselves on this hilltop, shooting at me? Like,
Yeah.
how you came from London, how I came from Massachusetts, and we found ourselves in the Israeli army.
I think, yeah, you're right. We ended up in a program called Gerin Sabah, which is a program that assists soldiers who are coming to Israel to join the army without any sort of family support, or their family is basically abroad. So to put it in context, Israelis, when they reach a certain age in school, it's sort of like Americans or British people when they're near to finishing school and going to university, The school helps them with the transition. So in Israel, before you join the army, there's a whole process to help people with transition, how you go to the army, what tests you need to do, how to pick your units, how to prepare, etc. For people coming from abroad, like you, Jeff, like me, we were never part of that process. So they created a program called Garin Sabal to help basically, quote unquote,
acclimate us to soldierly life.
Yeah.
So what it was is we lived on a kibbutz. And if you don't know what a kibbutz is, just listen to a different podcast. So we lived on a kibbutz. All right, sorry.
No,
if you don't know what a kibbutz
fair.
is, just Google it. I don't know. I don't want to get into, we can get in the weeds here. So we lived on a kibbutz on the northern border called Kibbutz Sasa, and it's right on the border of Lebanon.
Great place.
Really amazing. It was like heaven. And all of these soldiers, half guys, half girls, we all lived in a big house together. And we were from all over, and we were all going into the army together, and we didn't have parents in Israel.
The idea is to create sort of a mini family and a place to live because you don't have a house because you came from abroad. And, as you said, Jeff, we came from all over. So obviously I was from England. I do have family in Israel, to be fair, but I didn't have my parents. And I was from England, you were from America, and you had people coming from all over America. We had
Ireland,
Canada,
Scotland, Austria,
France,
Colombia. Where else? Colombia. Yeah, we had a very international Garin.
I should also mention that when we moved, because we moved to Israel, we started this. It was August 2006, in the middle of the Israeli-Lebanon war, the second Israel-Lebanon war. And as you mentioned,
everyone was scared, and people dropped out. They didn't want to continue. They're like, "Oh God, why are we joining the army when there's a war going on?"
Exactly, and I mean, to be fair, we only joined the army in November, but yes, we went to Israel during an active war.
We came to make the decision, and it was the middle of a war. My parents were very scared. People dropped out. We have a friend named Micha, and his dad, who was a soldier in the army, he had a line that really persuaded me not to drop out. It didn't really cross my mind to drop out, but he said something along the lines of, I'll say it in Hebrew and then we can translate. He goes, Im yesh mayim tikanes, im yesh milchama titgayes.
It translates to if there's water, jump in. If there's a war, sign up. I'm not sure.
Exactly.
I'm not sure if that sentence really gives any justification for why to do these things, but never mind.
To me, it was poetic.
It clearly worked on you, so that's okay.
It was just simple and poetic, and I was like, okay.
You do like your poetry, Jeff. You do like your poetry. I think it would have less worked on me. It was more like I was like, okay, that doesn't make any sense. But it's important to note, as I said, that you mentioned the Kibbutz Sasa, which is on the Lebanon border, and we couldn't. From security point of view, they didn't want to move us to that kibbutz. So actually, when we arrived, we stayed in a hotel in Jerusalem for a couple of weeks until there was
because there were rockets flying right over our kibbutz, but we hadn't even lived there yet. And there were just Katyusha rockets going over from Lebanon, over maybe hitting the fields of our kibbutz. So we stayed in Jerusalem with other Garinim, with other groups from other kibbutzim.
Yeah. But then obviously eventually we went up there, and sort of the delayed anticipation, and it was a great place, great people. I loved it there.
Are you talking about Sasa, or are you talking about the hotel?
Oh no, sorry, I was talking about Sasa. Eventually we moved. We went back to Sasa, and I'm still in contact with we all got an adopted family there, and I'm still in contact with my adopted family.
Oh yeah, of course.
And
me too. And my son's middle name is Sasa. If that tells you how much I love that place.
That is the biggest sort of compliment you can give to a place, isn't it? So yeah, that's how we sort of met. We met on this program, and then we had a couple of months because we actually only joined the army in November. But as I explained,
working on the kibbutz in the field. Yeah,
there's a couple of things you have to do before you join the army. You have to do some psychometric tests to see. You have to do some physical tests to see if what you can do. Certain people want to go into particular units, so they have to do tests like that. The army assesses if you're
yeah, you get a thing called a kaba, which is your mental and physical And Nisparishi. Okay, all this is coming back to me. You get a number that showcases your physical and mental status to see if you're eligible to be a combat soldier.
Yeah, that's not Misparishi. Misparishi is your personal ID. What you're talking about is your profile. But Karen.
Wait, what was that called?
Profil.
Oh yeah, profile. That's right. It's been a while to where I can't remember all this stuff. Hold on. So the highest score you can get is a 97.
Because no one's perfect.
No one's perfect. And humble brag. That's what I got.
Well done, Jeff.
I don't remember what you got. Did you get 97? You did.
Yeah, if you don't have any major physical issues, then you probably get 97.
I really doubt I would get a 97 today.
So obviously that's how we... So that's how we sort of met each other. We lived in the Sasa. We actually lived in the same room, and we joined the same unit.
Yeah. Real quick, not everybody in our house joined the same unit. Everyone went to different units.
People had a choice, whatever they want. We joined the unit called Nachal, Green Berets,
and we requested that unit.
Yeah,
right?
because
I put it as my number one request.
It's known as a unit which, back in the day, was known as a unit which is a lot of people that come from kibbutzim or moshavim, and therefore, as we were in the kibbutz, the caliber of people would be similar, nicer. Again, it's a little bit different now. I think it's much more mixed in the army now, but that was the perception the unit had back then.
The different infantry units had stigmas.
Yes.
And the stigma of Nachal was like guys who come from a kibbutz and play the guitar. And the stigma of Golani, the unit, is Mizrachim, like soldiers who are Mizrahi, and maybe Arsim. Is that rude to say? I don't know. What's the stigma of Golani, Dor?
I mean, the stigma of Golani is more like, well, if I use a British term, it's like lads.
Arsim, Guidos, yeah.
Again, I think it's completely changed now. They try to combat all these stigmas.
Now, right.
But that's how it was before, and so that we decided to join Nachal, and we did. Not everyone, as you said, and we joined in November 2006. So the war was over, thank God. And then we used to come back home to Sasa every couple of weeks, depends when we were let out. So that was a good place to come back home to.
Yeah, very good place. And let me just paint a little picture for you, what it was like coming back from the army. So we would come back, weathered, tired soldiers, and we'd stash away our rifles, lock them up, take off our uniforms, get into our bathing suits or our clothes. And what I would do right away is I'd probably take a nap and eat a bunch of snacks, and then I would go to the pool, jump in. There's a great big pool in this kibbutz. Then we would come back, rest until Shabbat dinner, and we would take showers, get dressed up nice, go to our host family's house, shout out Ginsberg's, and we would light Shabbat candles. And then we would go to the dining hall, have a great dinner, and then we would go to this place called the Moadon, which is a coffee house. I would chain smoke cigarettes and play chess and drink coffee outside. And
I wouldn't. So my version of coming home is very different than yours. You're like, you came in, you chucked your bag, you went off to the pool. With me, I'm like, obviously, I'm more organized. I empty my bag, get the laundry ready, put everything, if I had to find additional supplies, like my toothpaste run out, I would organize everything. And I would try to get everything done before dinner so I can fully relax. We should actually say that because it's a kibbutz, in Israel, there's lots of kibbutzim. Sasa is actually still a real, communist kibbutz where they share stuff. So on Friday night, the dining hall was open to everyone. I mean, you can have dinner at home if you want to. As you said, you went to your family, then you went to but really, all the kibbutz comes and has Friday night dinner together, which was really nice. And then we went to that Moadon place. But really, I never liked staying there that much. As you said, I like to go home. I organized the room. So you didn't
go drink coffee with us?
No, I did, but then I was like, I want to go home and, either I'll watch a TV show so I can relax, without anyone.
You would start pre-gaming for the pub already.
Well, I also wanted a bit to relax because the whole week you've got people on you the whole time and you kind of want to be by yourself. So that was a good time to be a little bit by yourself, especially because we lived in the same room together. But then I can obviously...
Yeah.
And then I could obviously smoke a bit of nargila, which people used to come and start... and then we started getting the alcohol ready. Because we had...
You would prep the pregame, because after the Modon, we'd all start drinking.
It's true. And Sasa was really good. They had actually a pub, or... It was a pub/bar/club, because they had like music.
Yeah, it was a lot of dancing. It was in a bomb shelter under the ground.
Well, that was one of the coolest things. So even when there was a war, they could still go to the pub in the kibbutz.
Right.
And what was really fun about that place, obviously all the drinks were subsidized because this is a communist village. So
literally just open tab. We never paid for a drink. Full bar.
What do you mean? You were meant to pay, Jeff. Okay,
I never paid it.
Jeff never paid.
I don't know.
This is why that's why the communist system fails, when people don't do. But technically, you're meant to pay. But
subsidized. I wasn't trying to take advantage of it. I just didn't know how to pay. I just wanted to get drinks. And they would write my name down on a paper.
Ignorance is bliss. But it doesn't matter. We bought so much alcohol from before, which we did. We got an allowance for our house that the kibbutz gave us, and we used it all on alcohol. And then we went out to the pub and had some music.
First of all, if you go to Sasa to the pub, it's not in the bomb shelter anymore today, which is kind of sad to me. It's now in its own building. But back then we were down.
I have not been to the new one. I've not been to.
I have. So it's now it's in like a barn, but it used to be down in the bunker, and we would smoke nargila, which is hookah. For those who don't know, it's like there would be like 6 hookahs, shisha, hookah, nargila. There'd be 6 nargilas going around the tables, and there was always the same crew like smoking while some people were drinking and dancing. Cigarettes were allowed down there. It was I liked it.
It was a great fun place. It was close to our house.
By the way, the people who were at this pub were not just our garin. It was the kibbutznikim. It was all the people, the young people, and a couple of not young people. All at the bar having a drinking. Yeah,
and that was really fun to like interact with them. And with obviously our people, and I think we brought a lot of life to that pub. So there was fun, and I brought my own music, which I think eventually people liked. So that was good, and so I think we had a really good time. I think
the dancing we did down there was like some serious exercise. I just remember being drenched in sweat and reeking of smoke, and like trudging back to our house. Because it's a walking distance, like a 5-minute walk to our house with our friends, and I would always just like make some sort of elaborate, crazy sandwich in one of those sandwich presser machines when I got back.
Yes, and you always cleaned up after yourself, Jeff.
I never cleaned up.
No. So again, you're the reason why communal living doesn't work. You don't pay for your drinks. You mess up the kitchen. It was bad. I just had the hummus and pita.
Okay, so that was our weekends off from the army.
Yes.
And then the army was the army. Yeah, imagine being a Garin member now. That would be very scary.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, obviously they're constantly in the army. Now I think there's a lot more Garin Tzabar kibbutzim now, so it's a little bit different. Some of them are
We drafted in November, and it is currently November. So there's young Doors and young Jeffs right now who are shitting their pants.
Well,
just like
probably
we were
the ones
at the
that
drafted.
The ones that drafted now, I'm guessing. I mean, they have to train them, so it's a bit too early.
Yeah, they have to go to basic training, but still, they'd be shitting their pants. I was really nervous about the Lebanon War when we were first. In fact, I went home to America.
I mean, you're anxious anyway, Jeff. So
I'm anxious anyways. I'm a freaked out Jew. But I went before we drafted into the army. Before I was in Garin Tzabar, I went back to America for the summer, and my parents took my passport, and I had to go like by myself. They didn't want me to do this. They were not like fans of this move I was doing, so they went and had to go to the Israeli consulate alone and just like get myself an Israeli passport in order to do this.
Wow. Well, I'm guessing as soon as they heard about the war, they were extra not happy then.
That's why. Like, it was very scary for them. But then I went through with it. I flew, and that's when I met you.
And the rest is history.
Okay, let's check in on the hostages. What's the latest, Dor?
Yeah, it looks like they've been moved to the Red Cross. The hostages.
That's the second batch?
The second batch. That's what they're saying. But, I
didn't know. That's news to me.
Well, it's just happened now, but I'm always, I I want to see them on Israeli soil, and then I'll be comfortable. So let's see how this progresses.
All right. I know we didn't plan to talk about this, but actually I was thinking about how we're releasing Palestinian prisoners, Hamas nicks that we're returning. Whoever.
Depends what Instagram. If you listen to Instagram, they're all lovely, innocent, peace-loving people. Right. But yes,
part of this deal is that Israel can't use surveillance while the hostages are being moved around in Gaza. Is that what I understood correctly?
Yeah, Israel is technically not allowed to surveil in Gaza, but it doesn't say that we are not putting all the prisoners that we released under surveillance. And I can tell you, a lot of them will be going right back into jail.
Okay, but the Israeli prisoners that are being shuttled around, is there any, you think that there's some sneaky surveillance Israel's doing to watch where they're coming from, and maybe we can do like a Sayeret Matkal mission to save them?
So even if Israel knows where they are, because we still have hostages, they have to act as if they haven't done any surveillance, because this is the problem. The hostages are the problem.
How do you think Hamas knows if we're using surveillance or not? And
if you after today, for example, randomly, or after we finish this first round of hostage releases, up to like 50 or 80 people, let's say, if you then go knock on their door, they're like, well, how did you know? Oh, okay, then we'll kill the rest of the hostages.
So they can't see our surveillance. It's not like those white blimps you see floating around.
No, they won't be able to see it necessarily. I'm sure we can do it in a covert way.
Satellites.
But your actions, they will be able to see. And at the moment, we shouldn't be doing anything to put the hostages' lives at risk, in my opinion.
It's like a bank robber who stole $1 million and then the next day is driving around in a Ferrari.
Exactly, and that's the situation. I think the most important thing is to safeguard these hostages. When they're on Israeli soil, then we can all breathe a sigh of relief. But I'm sure Hamas will come up with something new to emotionally manipulate us tomorrow with a new release. But you know what? If we get these people back, then let's deal with the emotional manipulation.
The videos of the released hostages have been making me so emotional watching that kid with the glasses. Do you know his name?
I could tell you, I was sobbing watching those videos today.
I saw him eating schnitzel and I was just like, oh my God, I'm so happy this kid's having his schnitzel.
Yeah, it's very emotional.
And I think part of the reason I'm able to be jokey right now is just because I'm so happy for the prisoners that were released. So I was just,
and that's okay. I think that's okay. I think it's okay to have ups and downs. This is going to be a long-term thing. So we're going to need to be able to do up and down. We need to be able to relax. It's normal.
Speaking of the James Bond spy ops stuff we were talking about, I didn't really delve into it or fact check it, but I saw something about how Benjamin Netanyahu said publicly that he has given the Mossad the go-ahead to assassinate the top-tier Hamasniks like Hayania and Mashal. And two things. Obviously, I think that the Mossad should take them out in Doha or wherever they are. But I felt like Bibi's announcement of it was a little self-serving. If now they do get nabbed by Hamas, what should happen? He's going to be like, I give them the go-ahead. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious that we're going to go after these people. It's sort of like the whole Munich thing that we went after Black September. These people will look over their shoulder the rest of their lives, but again, they don't care.
There was a New York Times article where a New York Times reporter interviewed some head Hamas guys, and part of the article it was talking about how they were shocked that they were having the interview in a hotel lobby and another interview in some guy's $1 million mansion sipping coffee. It doesn't seem like they're hiding in bunkers. It seems like they're out and about in Qatar.
Again, it's you have to remember, it always goes back to the hostages. As soon as we don't have hostages there, then the gloves are off.
That's why your logic, and I'm passion. I want to just go and grab them and trade the hostages for the head of Hamas. But you're like, no, let's slow play it. Okay, I get it.
Okay, so we started this episode. We were still waiting for the second lot of hostages. I've been monitoring as we've been chatting, Jeff, and currently, so they just revealed the next group of hostages.
The names?
The names in the pictures. I think there's 6. There's 13. A lot of kids.
Oh my God, is Yaheli on there? Yahel?
Yeah, I can't really. I think she is. Yeah.
She looks exactly like my daughter, and she's
so they're not back yet. I think they're still in Egypt or whatever, but they've been revealed who they are. That's a lot of the young kids. There's
what website are you looking at?
I'm looking at the Israeli Channel 2 website at the moment.
All right, this is amazing news because the first batch that was released just made me feel jubilant all day. So I can't wait to just study the faces of the people being released right now because it's like a weight. It's like taking a little bit of weight off of me, person by person.
And, this goes back to, there's a debate in Israel and in the Jewish community, how much you should negotiate with terrorists. But I think when you look at these people in the face and you realize this is not just a number, this is a human being. And if we can get any human being back from the 240 that were taken, it's a miracle. And that's why I believe we should try everything. And yes, Hamas has got us by the balls. I think the operation into Gaza has caused a lot of pressure on them. Not enough pressure, clearly, because they're still playing games with us. But you know what? When we're done with this, we will be back to fighting to get the rest of them back. I think, and every Israeli and I think many Jews around the world would say we have to keep going until everyone comes back, no matter what.
Exactly. I feel the exact same way, and this doesn't even need to be said, but hopefully we can figure out a way to eliminate Hamas, get back our hostages, and protect Gazan civilians like in the cleanest way. It's such an impossible task, but like...
Well, the debate, I think, that we hear in the diaspora more, not within the Jewish community, but certainly outside is ceasefire. That's what they keep telling us. We have to do immediate ceasefire.
That's what you're saying. That's what the protesters.
That's what the protesters. We had a massive protest in London today. Ceasefire. That's what I mean. And let's be honest, they're also protesting about other things like river to the sea, which is not really about ceasefire. That's about killing Jews. But I think that we have to contend a lot, especially if you meet a lot of non-Jews, with this concept of ceasefire. That's like kind of what you hear on a daily basis in the diaspora. And and I know from my friends that, they struggle with this, is because, there's such a civilian death toll in Gaza. But at the end of the day, what's the point of talking about ceasefire until we get all our hostages back? We could do a pause like we're doing now, and Israel has proven it can do a pause in fighting to get hostages back. But until we get everyone back, why should we ceasefire? Well,
the people who are on the street chanting ceasefire, they're not actually calling for a ceasefire. They're calling for...
Well, they're calling for Israel's surrender, and I think it's very difficult.
Well, there's two groups. There's people calling for Israel's surrender, and there's people who are ignorant and don't actually know that if Israel stopped defending itself, stopped fighting, ceasefire in their eyes, that the firing will continue for generations to come, because there's no such thing as a ceasefire when you're dealing with Hamas and Iran and and Hezbollah, the people that Iran are funding. There is no ceasefire. It's not a thing. If Israel put down their weapons and stopped fighting, there wouldn't be a ceasefire. There would be a cease Israel. And I think if a cease Israel is what you want and what you're protesting about on the streets, then you should have the guts to say it and not use their smoke and mirrors and catchy catchphrases such as ceasefire. If you want cease Israel, say cease Israel.
I think there's a group of people that are, they're using the word ceasefire because it's easy to say. It's not it doesn't. It brings what they want, which is the end to the killing, but it doesn't actually. It means still the end of Israel, and they don't really consider that because they don't really care. They don't understand.
The ceasefire crowd are anti-peace. They're not out there saying we want Israeli and Palestinians to live in peace.
I don't think the ceasefire crowd.
Anti-peace.
I don't think the ceasefire crowd are anti-peace. I think there's people that are, again, they put their hands on their ears and their heads, and they're like, "Oh, I just want the killing to stop." And I understand that because they're not involved in the conflict. They don't understand the nitty-gritty. I think what's going to be interesting, and again, we hope for eventually this war will end, hostages will come back, Hamas will no longer be there. It's something we can discuss another time. What is the lasting legacy, not only on Israel's security in the region, and again, this war might continue on to Lebanon and etc. So we're still very early days. But what is the legacy and what does life look like for Jews afterwards in the diaspora with people that we know have these opinions and they might remain those opinions. They probably will. How does that look for us? And that doesn't look like the nicest world at the moment. But I mean, it's an interesting conversation that we can get into maybe another time, because I think that's going to be something that we are all Jews are going to have to contend with in the diaspora. However, I will say that for now, because again, as I said at the beginning, this war is going to be highs and lows. We have to go through highs and lows. We have to enjoy the highs and deal with the lows together. And the highs at the moment is we've just got another 13 people back. And
I can't wait.
And you know what?
Go and just study who these people are. When we this is real time happening for us, and I'm gonna hang up on this call and just like look at every face of every released prisoner, and just fantasize about them having a warm meal and hugging their loved ones.
I think I'm in the same boat as you. You know, when we hear about these things, all we want to do is go watch Israeli TV and feel like we're part of it. We feel like we're connected. I think a lot of Jews in the diaspora have this, and I think we need to be happy and hopeful that we got these people, and hopeful that we're going to get more, as much as we can. We will get, and on to the next stage. So I'll leave you with that happy thought.
I love that happy thought, Dor. I love your happy thoughts. Your happy thoughts make me so happy. That was very fun reminiscing with you today. I mean, we could do 20 episodes on our past, and let's look on to the future, and next week when we're talking, let's do a count of how many hostages are released.
Yeah, let's hope at the full 50 amount or even more. Fingers crossed.
All right, Dor.
All right.
Laila Tov, Dor. Great talking to you.
Good night. Bye-bye.
My name's Jeff. I'm calling in from California.
My name's Dor, and I'm joining you from London.
Out of 16 million, we are 2.
2 freaked out Jews.